friends, it's Kayla Moran, and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. How's everybody doing today? Happy Thursday, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day or time it is that you're listening. So happy to be back on the mic with you guys. How is everybody doing? I cannot believe we're already here again this week. Honestly, I just don't know where the days are going. I really don't. But I hope you guys like this background a little bit better. I think I'm going to stick with this. It feels weird being in my bedroom during the day. I'm really never in here. But I thought I would, spend more time in here because this is my safe space in my house. It does feel homey. It's my sanctuary, and I love it so much. I love being in here. I love my bed, and I can't wait to get into bed after I do this recording because I'm officially off the clock. And it has been a really big week, which we will get into, but I did want to touch on something really quickly that I discussed on my social media this week. So if you might know or might have noticed, I did get lip filler. I also got Botox, and I did talk about it on my social media. I have more content about that coming to you soon. But I just wanted to say, I never want to pressure anyone into getting any work done if they don't want to. It is all a personal choice. It is all a personal preference. I just want to be open and transparent about it. And so if I look a little funky, that is why it's still settling in. It's only been 3 days, and I am aware that I look a little crazy right now. I feel a little crazy right now just looking at myself in the camera, but I am really open about it. You guys know that, and I did answer some questions on my stories, and I recorded a couple questions with my injector, Dr. Alex, who has been on the podcast before. So I did want to touch on that in this introduction since I look different than I did when this episode was recorded. But I had just gotten work done when those episodes were recorded as well. So also explains why my lips are funky. It has been about 5 months since these episodes were recorded, which is about the time that I go in between my touch-ups. So just wanted to preface that. I also wanted to say I'm so excited that my law firm, Kayla Moran Law's website has officially launched, and I'm so happy about it. I'm so proud of it. Thank you so much to Brandika Studio. Wanted to give her a shout out here. I'll link them both below, my website and hers, so you can check out the girl who helped me create the branding guide and the strategy behind my content creation upgrade and my law firm's website. And now we're going to work on a content strategy for the rest of the year, really the next 4 months with my assistants. I had a call with them today to kind of catch up. It's been 3 months since I had sat down with both of them, since we are virtual, and checked in. And, if there's a lot of noise going on, Sarge is playing with my humidifier right here. But it had been so long since we had just done a life catch up, and it was really important to me when I hired people that they were girls that I really could see myself being friends with and get along with and have fun with, because we are really personal in each other's lives. Like, they're really in my business, and I want to, as much as they're comfortable sharing with me, of course, be a part of their lives as well. So we're working on putting into our calendars all our different out of offices and our trips and weddings and things that we have going on in our lives the next few months, so we can support each other and be there for each other, and also still show up for my business, which is the most important thing in our relationship. And it's just really cool to have a team that supports me. I've been working with them for almost a year, which is absolutely insane, like 10 months. And I would not be where I am at with my business if it wasn't for the team around me and my podcast team, Amanda, who helps me bring this podcast to you guys, especially with editing and video content. She does it all. She's the best. So just wanted to say that too. As I continue to grow and level up my business, I want to be transparent that it is not all just me. It can't be just me anymore. And that is something that we talk about in this week's episode with Allison, which I'll introduce to you guys in a little bit. But yeah, it's been a really big week. My website launch is huge, and I'm so proud of it. And it just feels like the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm getting to where I want to be. It feels tangible for the first time in a year almost, that I'm getting everything I wanted and that I have dreamt of and that I worked so hard for. And, it's back to school season, and talking to my mentees that have just graduated or are entering the next phase, whether it's 2L year or 3L year, supporting them in their next chapter, and them looking to me and saying, you are an inspiration to me. it still is like a pinch me moment when people tell me that, but just knowing that I've worked so hard for it and that you guys see all of the value and the hard work that I put in and people look up to me and I can continue to be there for them and share the lessons that I've learned just means the absolute world to me. And by the way, there is a lot of legal news right now. There's a lot of things happening that do and may impact the creator economy, whether it's an FTC ban, trademark lawsuits, the Vibes case, the infamous influencer suing another influencer for copying her vibe. That is a big case right now. And the Formula One versus content creators cease and desist spree that has been happening the last few months. There's a lot going on, and I just got all of it on my newsletter. So be sure to check that out. Subscribe. I will link it below so you guys get emails from me twice a month knowing about what is going on in the industry. And yeah, that'll also one day be linked on my website where you can see all my old newsletters and blog posts. I'm going to move them over from kaylinrandblog.com, that's where they are right now, to the law firm blog. So everything is on there and you get a one-stop shop of everything that I'm up to, in addition to my LinkedIn and social media accounts. But everything's going to be integrated, and that was why this branding was so important to me. I wanted to find a personal brand that really, a look that really encompassed both me and my law firm as an extension of me. And I kind of love this ChatGPT trend of putting in your profile and having it roast you or telling you what it looks like. And I shared it this morning. It basically really encapsulated exactly what I wanted my brand to be. My personal brand is lifestyle, it's aspirational, it's homey, it's warm, it's personable, it's exciting, it's fun. And, you know, that's who I am. I want you to look at me and be like, wow, she lives a really great life. She works really hard. She has her own business, but she makes time for herself and health and wellness and has a good time doing it. And that's someone I want to be friends with. And then on my law firm side, it's clean, it's aesthetic, it's professional, but it's personal too. It's unique, it's relatable, it's fun, it's youthful. I didn't want it to feel stuffy. I didn't want it to be a traditional law firm website or Instagram account that just feels very like stiff and boring. And that has been the biggest praise that I've gotten in the last few days, is just that my website looks like me. It's relatable, it's fun, it's fresh. And that was the goal. So that ChatGPT got that vision means the world to me. And so I want to share that with you guys too. The goal has always been to empower and inspire and connect with people and build a community. And I'm so grateful that I have, and that you guys continue to listen, and that I get to have really cool conversations like this. Let us do a quick second suite of the week, and then we'll dive right into this week's guest. So a suck of the week this week is that it really sucks when the people you care about most and you genuinely want to spend time with and love just don't live in your city. Like, some of my bestest friends do not live in my city. And I've talked about that before, but it's so damn hard to do long distance, whether it's a relationship or a friendship. And I talk to them daily, but it's just sometimes I want to have a girls' night. I want to go to dinner. I want to go to a workout class or go for a walk with my friends. And sometimes you just can't do that because they don't live near you. And it's hard, but I love that we do make the time to speak to each other no matter how busy we are. And that's a really big thing I see on threads. Like, if you wanted to, he would, or, you know, they're not too busy for you if they really want you to be in their life. And that is so true. And with friendships, like I said, especially, like, as we get older, you're not always going to be able to live in the same city as your best friends. And you're not going to be able to see them every day, even if you do live in the same city. Some of my best friends that do live here, I haven't seen in 3 months. And that's just life. Like, it happens and it sucks. It really, really does. But when you want to be in someone's life, they make time for you. And so that's kind of where I'm at this week. Just, I'm having all these cool wins and I want to spend time with my friends. I want to celebrate, but I can't. But this week is one of my best friends here in Miami's birthdays and my grandma's birthday, and my dad's birthday was last week. So lots of celebrations going on, which is exciting. I actually was supposed to be at an event right now as I'm recording this, but just with the weather and work, I just decided better off not going so I can make time to get the things I need to get done and have a chill night in by myself before lots more events the rest of the week. And I really do apologize about him crying in the background. And for my sweet of the week, that I have some really incredible people in my life that are so supportive and appreciative. And that is something that I've really struggled with growing up. I've always had a lot of friends, but I've always been a floater. I've never had a true friend group. And I always felt that that made me less than, because the movies say you're supposed to have a friend group or you're a weirdo if you don't, you know? And the more I've grown up, the older I get, the more I realize it's actually really special to have just a handful of close friends. And, groups are not always the best, because, the dynamics can change and someone's always kind of left out. And I've become like the go-to advice friend and like listener friend for a lot of my friends. And I'm just like, my life is in shambles 90% of the time. Like, why are you coming to me? But it's because I'm a good listener and because I am really logical for other people and not so much for myself. But just really grateful that I have some incredible people in my life. And the consequences, or the good things about having some really incredible people in your life, is that you meet more incredible people. And I feel like I'm finally finding my group in Miami, my people in Miami. They're not a group. They're just like a bunch of different people that I hang out with at different times, at different events. I'll run into people at workout classes. I'll run into people in certain neighborhoods. I'll run into people at events. And I just genuinely love the people that are in my life now. And some I talk to every day, some I talk to every week, some I talk to on social media only. But truly, I feel like Miami is where I want to be. And I'm really grateful for the people that are in my life. And like I said earlier, I can sense that everything that I want is within reach. And it's really weird. But like, it's just like that tangible little piece, like, what? Like, just only a little bit more. But I'm just working on being patient and trusting the process, because I know that everything happens the way that it's meant to, when it's meant to, how it's meant to, and it's not up to me. And I know that there is a bigger plan. I just have to trust it and let it all happen organically, because the best things come without forcing it. And so that is my sweet of the week, just learning to let go and learning to enjoy where I'm at and be present. And that's why I'm spending more time in here, even though I don't love having my laptop in here. But this is my safe space. This is my home. And I want to enjoy as much time at home with my family as possible, because I know that in a few months, probably, I won't be here as much. And, that's going to be weird too. But yeah, that is it. I'm so excited to introduce to you this week's guest, Allison Cohen. She is a holistic life and wellness coach, and she does somatic work and mindset work, and kind of a continuation of last week's episode with Faith. You're going to hear a lot of the same themes in that conversation. When I recorded those calls originally back in March, I was fresh off of a really hard breakup, and you're going to hear how much growth I have come on now since then. And I just look back and I'm just really proud of that girl who in March was really struggling, but was so able to be, optimistic and grateful for the opportunities and memories and experiences and the growth that has come out of those things. And talking to people like Faith and Allison have really empowered me to appreciate those moments and, what those moments have taught me. And so we do a lot of mindset work and talking about transforming ourselves and our lives through mindset and through, being in touch with our emotions and allowing ourselves to feel things and being honest about what it's like to date and not dating for extended periods of time, and why we're intentional about that and why we choose to do that to be able to be a better version of ourselves. And it's a really intriguing conversation, because I'm actually at a point where I am so uninterested in dating and relationships, because I'm enjoying where I'm at. I'm enjoying getting to know myself, and I like this version of me. And, we'll see. I actually have a call with Allison tomorrow to do a session with her, because it's been 5 months since her and I have chatted, and so much has changed in my life. And I'm excited to kind of have a little guidance. I do go to therapy every week, but I feel like this is such a different type of work than therapy work. And I'm excited to get to see her in action. This is something that has been really, really helped me in the last few months, just knowing I have people like this in my life to go to. And her content is absolutely incredible. And she has meditations as well. And she's such a unique light in this world. And I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. So if you like this episode, please leave a rating and a review. Please subscribe to the show, share with a friend, tag us as you're listening. Let me know who you want to see next, what topics you want me to cover next. And I will see you guys in next week's episode. Happy National Latina Day. And I'll see you guys next week. Meet Allison. So Allison, what's something that people wouldn't know about you just from following you?
That's such a good question. I guess it would be that that I worked in private banking before. I feel like I don't actually share a lot about that on my Instagram. And I feel like if you were to go to my Instagram, you would just assume like I'm super into health and wellness and spirituality and like all of those things, and not know that I had like a big part of my life that was in the corporate route and very like just in a different headspace.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you're trying to build a business, so I get Instagram's your business, but like, do you intentionally not share that side of you? Or it just happens to be like that's just, you don't really like ever reflect on that part of your life anymore?
Yeah, I think that when I first started the account, I talked about it a lot. When I first started the account, I switched it over to like my coaching account. I talked a lot about like burnout and healing from burnout. And then I think, because it became less prominent in my life today, and it's not something I reflect on a ton now that I've like done the work to heal from burnout and just like don't feel like it plays a huge role in where I'm going. I don't talk about it enough. I feel like I honestly should be talking about more because I think a lot of people would relate to it. But I think a lot of times I'm kind of just like doing what's coming to me creatively and like what's present for me at the moment. So I don't do it intentionally. I used to try to actually include it in a lot of my content, but recently it just like hasn't been at the forefront of my mind.
I think it's interesting actually, because there's times where whatever got someone famous is like what they constantly talk about, even if that's no longer what's going on in their lives. And it's like, we've heard this story 500 times, like enough. So it's kind of refreshing that you don't talk about it, because you're also, the more you talk about it, the more you're reliving it, the more you're still like, it's affecting you if you're talking about it. Like, we're all guilty of this as boys or like friends, and like, you know, so it's almost a good thing actually that like you don't feel the need to talk about it so much, because it shows that you've really done what you're telling your clients to do, and you've actually been able to move on from it and heal from it. But yeah, there's also the side where there is probably a lot of people who would benefit from you sharing. So it's like that, finding that balance. I really struggle with that too. I'm like, today is actually 2 years to the day that I graduated from law school, and I still talk about it all the time. And it's like, grow up. Like, you already graduated 2 years ago. It's not about you. Don't share your graduation pictures, even though I want to, because it's still something I want to celebrate. But like, you know, there's people that graduated this year that like, it's about them. Like I have to remind myself sometimes, like, we don't want to know about that anymore. So I think it's kind of nice that you have been able to distance yourself.
Yeah, and I do talk about it a lot on like longer form content, like on podcasts and stuff like that. I really struggle with like personally with Instagram in terms of like it just being a hard platform to share your full story on. It's like such small snippets of your life. When I'm making longer form content, I talk about it all the time because I can go deeply into it. But for me to just like throw something out there about burnout, it just like feels like kind of not aligned with what I'm sharing. But I definitely do feel like I need to include it more. And I love what you said about the whole like letting go of the past. I recently I had to let go of something, and as I was like journaling about it and sort of getting guidance on like what I need to do to like fully let go of this thing, there was a big message and theme around like, yeah, you let go of something, but also you have to like let go of the past. Like a lot of us hold on to the past to feel safe and feel comfortable, and like a lot of our identity is still in the past, and that's something I personally struggle with a lot of my life, is like holding on to the past, especially people. For me, like
uncertainty.
Yeah.
And
it's so safe.
It's funny, I was talking about this on Friday night with some of my good guy friends. Like, I've recently met a group of guy friends who are very much in like this like wellness and like more woo-woo space, especially for guys. But I think it's so refreshing that guys actually want to talk about feelings and like deep inner thoughts. And we're talking about this.
Yeah, wait, I love that.
Can I meet whatever you're in Miami, please. But and like we were just like sitting like sunset boat cruise, like around the city, and it's just beautiful, like vibes. It's just like such a nice night. And we were like going really deep about like work and relationships, and we were talking about how like we just get so comfortable in like what we're doing, and even though we know it's not working for us anymore, it's sometimes, even though we know we need to do it, it's hard to let go. It's hard to just to change because it's so comfortable and safe and secure. And for me personally, like I really like that's what I'm seeking. Like with, we talked about this like previously, like relationships, like I stayed a little bit longer than maybe I would have otherwise had I not been seeking safety and security in someone else. And then I realized I keep saying like, why does nobody want to hang out with me? Why does nobody initiate? Why does nobody this? Why does that? And it's like, no, you have to do that for yourself. And that's really scary. And we don't like uncertainty. We don't like stepping out of our comfort zone. We see that all the time. Like, you know, life begins when you walk out of your comfort zone. And it's true.
Totally. And I think it's tough too, because things so quickly like become our comfort zone. It's like those things that you thought was like that big jump and that big growth step, like a couple of months ago, all of a sudden become what's actually your comfort zone and what's like not serving you. And it's really hard to like, our biological need is to seek safety. So like we want to feel safe. It's like, it's so natural to us. I feel like it's really hard to find that balance between like knowing when to like enjoy that comfort zone and really like be there and just like be present with it, and then when to push yourself outside of it and be like, okay, like you've had your fun sort of, like now it's time to start growing again. Because I do feel like it's okay to stay in that for a little while.
It is really hard to kind of that ebb and the flow. At some point you have to integrate all the stuff that you've learned. Like at some point you have to pause therapy and actually like take a step back and like live life without someone in your ear. Not that that's what therapy is, but like in a way, like therapy is a sounding board. It's someone who is, you're paying to listen to you and cares about you. And so when you remove that, you're really learning to trust yourself a lot more. But there's also the times where like, you know, like, okay, something's happening, like you need that extra help. So when do you actually like integrate everything? If you're doing all this work on yourself and constantly doing all this work, like you're never actually going to pause to enjoy all the work that you've done. And that's where I'm at right now, where I need to actually take a step back and pause and like enjoy my life. And one of my friends posted this last week, I think. She said, feminine energy is when you're enjoying your life, and masculine energy is when you're planning for life. And I'm a planner by nature. And I think you might be too. So it's like sometimes really hard to stop planning for it and just actually enjoy the life that we're living. Like we don't have to have it all figured out today. It's okay.
And I feel like I saw some content on this too, and I really liked it. But like we go through seasons of our lives. And so it's really important to recognize like what season you're being called to actually be in right now. And if that's a growth season, like that's awesome. And like putting your full, like your best foot forward in terms of like getting the support you need and making sure that you're journaling and meditating and like doing all the things that you know you need to really grow and like be and really like connect to yourself and like what you need to be doing in order to like grow in alignment to where you actually want to go. But also then like if you're in a season of just like enjoying your life, like allowing yourself to fully be in that season and recognizing too that like they will come and go. Like you will have another season of growth. Just because you stop growing right now and like you're integrating and you're enjoying and like you're having fun doesn't mean that like you're going to get stuck there. I think that also comes back a lot to like self-trust of like, I think a lot of people feel like if I stop growing, will I get stuck there because the comfort zone feels so safe? And it's like really building that muscle of self-trust and being like, no, it's okay for me to stop and like heal or enjoy life or just like not think about what's coming next, and trust that like when I have the intuitive nudge, like when I'm supposed to start growing next, like I will be able to step up for myself in that way at that time without needing to like control it and force it.
I want to talk about self-trust, but since you mentioned working in private banking and corporate America and burnout, I want to touch on that really fast before we go completely off the deep end. What did you study in college? Like, did you always know you wanted to go into finance? Like, how did you get in that world, and what made you realize like, oh, I don't think this is for me anymore? Because I think that that's starting to happen a lot for people in their early 20s. Like they pick the job that is like super exciting on paper and all their friends are doing it, and then really early on they're like, no, this isn't for me. But again, we feel stuck. So how do you know when it's time to go?
Yeah, totally. So I like starting in high school and stuff, I was really good at math. And so that was sort of like, okay, like I see myself getting there. My dad was a financial advisor. So in the back of my head, I was always like, okay, financial advisor is like a good job. You make good money. You have a decent work-life balance. Like that was always in the back of my mind as a good option. And then when I went to college, I majored in economics. I ended up developing SIBO and IBS. So I had all these gut issues my freshman year of college. And so that really woke me up to like my passion for wellness. And my sophomore year, I remember I ended up getting a minor. I like considered switching over to, I think it was like public health or something like that. But I was like, no, I'm just going to stick with economics and get a minor in, it was like food and the environment. So like sustainability and nutrition. So I very early on like knew I had a passion for that kind of stuff based on my personal experiences. But then I ended up getting like internships that were really good in the finance space. And that sort of just led to me then applying to more and more finance jobs. And like I felt confident and capable of getting those types of jobs. And then I ended up landing like literally the job I got out of college was if like the version of me 2 years or maybe even just 1 year prior had like manifested their dream job, like that was the job. Like it was like, to your point, so perfect on paper. Like I was like, I don't even know how I did this for myself. Like this is so crazy. And so obviously I like had to take the job. Even though at the time I knew I had a passion for wellness. I'd actually already gotten a certification in holistic health and wellness and like did know I had interest in being a coach. But I just like was not ready for it yet. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of confidence in yourself and your ability to make a jump and to be an entrepreneur. Like I think in today's world where there's so many just entrepreneurs like on social media, like everyone sort of glamorizes it, but it's really hard, especially mentally. And I was not ready to make that jump. I like from the beginning of my healing journey, my biggest issue was always needing to tie my worth to external forms of validation and reward and like getting attention from others and love and respect from others, as well as like money was a big thing for me too. Is like I wanted to make a lot of money, like that sort of external reward. Yeah. And so it was just like I just didn't have the guts to say no and to pursue what I really wanted to pursue. And so I took the job and within like 2 months I was already burnt out. Like I knew this was not for me. I think like the biggest thing for me was that I knew what my like innate sort of like gifts and skill set and strengths were, which were really like emotional intelligence and a lot of the stuff that like I do in my coaching, and like my creativity. And I just did not feel like I was using any of it in my job. And so it felt like I was giving so much energy and effort to something that just it was almost like a form of people pleasing in a way where it's like I was giving them what they wanted, but it didn't fulfill me in any way because it wasn't like what I enjoyed doing. And so I was giving so much energy to something that felt like it wasn't giving anything back to me. And that was extremely draining. And like within the first couple of months, I started every Thursday, I would literally break out in eczema on my cheeks. Like I would get like this like weird feeling and like this like heat flash and like my cheeks would just break out in eczema because I was so exhausted. And I also believe there's like energetic and emotional stuff tied to that as well. So I've had a long history of like health issues. I think that once I started having these breakouts
a physical
of eczema was when I was like,
it really does kind of snap you back into reality.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, wait, because I've really experienced like having a long history with gut issues of my health sort of like taking me away from myself, like not feeling like myself, not feeling like the best version of myself because of my health issues. And so once my health started deteriorating, I was like, I can't let my like this take me away from myself again because I've done so much work on myself like before I entered corporate America. So for me, that was when I was like, okay, like something needs to change. But I stayed for like a year and 7 months, I think it was, before I ended up quitting. I sort of it was again, it tied back to like me sort of just not having the guts to go off on my own and to I just wasn't ready for it. one, financially, which I'm really grateful for the fact that I stayed as long as I did, because I have such a safety net now that I'm so grateful for. And that allows me to like show up in my business in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I had just like left right when I felt uncomfortable. And two, like I did learn so much there, and like a lot of the skills that I have in terms of like getting clients, like prospecting clients, as well as like creating just like systems and processes that are really supportive of my clients and that allow me to like really have good client service, honestly, in my business, comes from that time in corporate. And so I am really grateful for that as well. But for me, honestly, like once I felt like I had enough money that I could like go off on my own, that's when I began to be like, okay, like I need to start looking for what I'm going to do next. And I then also like I sort of had something in my personal life happen that sort of just pushed me out of my comfort zone. Like the universe was kind of like, you have to like you're staying in your comfort zone too long. Like I need to shake things up. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but like that's been something that's happened in my life a lot of times. And it's always really like not fun in the moment, but it ends up being like some of the best things that happen to you, because it really shook me up and made me be like, okay, like what am I doing with myself? What am I doing with my life? Like I've been saying I'm going to leave this job for a year, and it's over a year and a half.
Keep you really, really tied in. I think I've been talking about that a lot with my friends too. And yeah, like there's never going to be a right time. Like you're saying, like I was waiting for the right time. I was waiting for the safety net. I was waiting for this. There was never going to be a right time, but you had to just do it. And you did ultimately. And it's okay to prepare yourself to leave. Like that's different than like waiting until the right time. Personally, I think like there's a fine line. Like you played it smart. You're also
totally
very young. And so I get it. Like, and also like, having to explain to our parents, like we work really hard to get this job, and like, no, I'm going to actually like go and like do something completely different. Like there's a lot of conversations like when you are so young. I think people forget, like a lot of times people that are entrepreneurs, they're used to be not so much now, but they used to be like already married or they were older. So like they didn't have to explain things to as many people. Like they could just kind of do it. Maybe they were explaining things to their partner, but it wasn't like when you are dependent on your parents still, or living at home, or you're still close enough in age where like they are very involved in your life. And, you get to, it's like asking for forgiveness, not permission, but you still have to let them know what's going on. And so I totally get that. And like, like the universe was just like, all right, it's time. Like she's never going to leave. Like, let me like poke the bear a little bit. And trust me, I've totally been there. But I want to go back to something that you said, like at a very young age, you knew what your passions were. And I think I want to touch on that, because a lot of people, like I hate that at 18, you're expected to kind of know what you want to do for the rest of your life, but you actually did. And so did I, but that's really rare. And I think it's cool that economics and like food science are two very different things. So the fact that you combine them as like that was what you studied. Like, I think it also, you probably enjoyed finance more because you were also had your passion. You were still focusing on your passion in a way because you were studying it. I feel like if you would have completely like neglected that, or like, listened to someone tell you like, there's no money in that, or whatever crap that they say, and you only did economics, you probably would have not lasted as long as you did. But there's also power in lasting as long as you did, like you said, the transferable skills that you took with you. Like I always say, like everything happens for a reason, like good, bad, or ugly. Like you learn from it. Like yes, it seems like you threw it all away to do what you're doing now, but you learned a lot of skills there that help you in what you do. And you probably have clients who were where you were, who are where you were a year ago or 2 years ago. So you actually have inside knowledge on it because you've been there too. So it's more relatable, it's more personable, it's more helpful that way. But how did you, you said like you had health issues, like you always were very in tune with your body, like intuition. As kids, like we do have a lot of hobbies and interests and stuff. And then as we get older, the world kind of tells us like, oh, like you can't make money doing that. Go get a stable job. It's like, how did you know to like, no, I'm going to like stick my heels in the ground and say like, I'm going to keep doing this. Like this is something worth pursuing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I feel like it was just my intuition. It was just sort of like a knowing, like this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I have to do, which I don't think everybody has, to be honest. And so I do think that that's where it's really hard. It's really like it all comes down to clarity. I don't think I would have been able to make the jump. Like I would have just gone to another corporate job that was more aligned with my interests if I didn't have so much clarity. So, like, yes, you can get clarity through your intuition, but you can also get clarity by like really consciously like taking the time to get really clear on like what you're passionate about and what you're good at. It's sort of like where do those two things meet? And this was really where they met for me. And I had like a intuitive feeling like I wanted to be a coach before I went into corporate. So like 2 years before I even made the jump. And it was through like trying different things, like posting on social media while I was in corporate. And I remember there was one point while I was still working in corporate, like I literally reached out to all my friends and was like, you guys can all have like a 30-minute free coaching session with me. I just want to see if I even like this. Yeah. And I was like, I just want to see if I even like this, because I was like, I'm not going to make this massive jump from corporate where I have like a really good salary if I'm not obsessed with coaching. And so it was because I did that stuff that I was like, oh, wait, like I really do enjoy this. And I'm actually really good at it because I was like actually practicing it. And that's something I talk about all the time. This has been like one of, I feel like, the things that has really made me successful and like given me a lot of clarity in life and given me a lot more confidence in my professional career. But it's like, start doing the thing that you're waiting for somebody to give you permission to do. So like, yeah, like so many people are waiting for someone to like give them that job to start like researching and writing about sustainability, right? Like I wanted to, when I was actually like interviewing for my jobs in finance, before I got the job in private banking, like I thought I really wanted to go into ESG investing because that's like the intersection of like sustainability and finance or economics. And so I literally like made a blog that I only ended up posting like 3 blog posts until I got the job offer. But I was like, you know what? If no one's giving me a job offer, because it was like spring before I was graduating, I still hadn't gotten a job offer. I was like, if no one's going to give me a job offer, I'm just going to start doing what I want to do.
People ask me
and
all
like
the time how I started my firm right out of law school. There were no job offers. So I just was like, I'm going to create work for myself until I get a job. And then I did get a job and I was miserable. So I was like, I'm going to keep doing this and go all in on it. And I bet on myself. There's so many like sound bites and like things that I like cannot wait to pull from this episode, because like the fact that you were like, I'm going to test proof of concept and I'm not going to wait for things. I literally, as we're speaking right now, I have open on my computer a tab with an essay called Life is Short that I got from Maggie Seller's Hot Smart Rich newsletter. She put it in her newsletter on Sunday, an essay by Paul Graham called Life is Short. And that's what, like, I haven't read it yet. It's open because I need to read it. But it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, life's too short. Like, why are we going to wait until someone gives us permission? Why are you going to wait until tomorrow? Like, the golden handcuffs are real. If you don't start now, you're never going to start. You launch fast and then you adjust as you go. It doesn't have to be perfect, but test it out. And the fact that you knew like early enough to start giving it a shot. Like, even though you were working a 9 to 5, you were posting online saying like, does this even feel right? Too many people wait until all the stars align for it to just work out. And then they get mad when it doesn't work out or they don't go viral or whatever. It's like, I've been doing this for 6 years. I have clearly not gone viral, but I still do it because I love it. And I get to have cool conversations like this. Like, you have to do it. I think also like take the ego out of it. Take like the fancy, like prestigious things out of it. Like, do this because you really love it. So the fact that you were testing the concept to see like, is this really what I love while I'm still doing something else? That's huge.
Yeah. And I love to like that you said taking the ego out of it, because I feel like one of the reasons why in my past, like I've had all these experience with like manifesting things that didn't fulfill me in the ways that I thought was because I was like manifesting out of ego. I was like, oh, like, how do I get more validation, more money, more success, like all these things. And like, I really, even today, am like so focused on really manifesting out of like my worth and my essence, like my wholeness, and not this like ego manifestation. Because if you manifest something that's like out of ego, it's not actually going to bring you the feelings that you want. And it took me like a lot of times of like ego manifesting. For example, my private banking job, which was so perfect on paper, and it did not feel good. It did not feel how I wanted it to. It did not make me feel like my best self. To realize that like just being able to control the situation or control what you're experiencing isn't enough. Like you have to really understand like who you are and what fills you up.
How do you get clear on that?
And so
because actually I'm glad you brought up like the perfect on paper thing, because that's a misconception. Like just, and people say this all the time, like on paper they look like they should go together, or they look like they would never go together, but they actually do work. Like on paper means nothing anymore. Like there's so many factors that we don't get to see. So I want to talk about, you mentioned like getting clarity, like for you is intuition, but if someone doesn't have that capability or that trait where they're really good at listening to their intuition, how do you get clarity on yourself? How do you learn to trust yourself?
Yeah. I mean, one, all of us have intuition. It's a muscle that you can build. So, but it really like another way to describe intuition is just being really in touch with yourself. Like you have all of the answers within you. And that's really like how I coach as well. To your point before of like needing to like lean on a therapist, I try not to do that. I try to help people like access their own wisdom, because like I don't know any more than you do. I'm just here to ask you the questions that are going to help you discover like what you already knew.
Right. That's
and
the
the problem is
therapist or coach. Like that's the thing. Like sometimes people go to therapy, like give something, it's just like, no, a therapist's job is to help you discover them in yourself. Like you said, they are already in us. It's the world that told us what we should do or not do or whatever. And it's like, no, you already know.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, it's like that's almost another like manifestation, or like playing out that pattern of relying on your external world to like tell you what you're supposed to do. Like if you're waiting for your therapist to tell you what you're supposed to do, like that's still somebody else's, it's based on their experience, what fills them up, etc. So like it's not going to get you what you want. Like what you want is to find the things that are in alignment with you. I mean, for me, like it's just getting really in tune with yourself. For me, like journaling was huge when I first started my personal development journey. Meditation to like clear the mind and just like open up the ability to connect to like guidance, to myself, whatever sort of you have access to connect to. Working with a coach / therapist, like I worked with a coach and a therapist when I began my journey. And I still see her because like everyone needs support. And it's just like doing all those things to really get in touch with yourself. Like I would go on walks all the time and just like listen to what was coming up. Podcasts and stuff can also be really helpful. I think like to sort of open up, and like quotes for me were really big as well. Like it was sort of like noticing when you hear something on a podcast or you read a quote that like really like evokes like something in you, like you feel it in your body almost. It's like that's telling you something you already knew about yourself. You just like hadn't really acknowledged yet. Yeah, it's really just like getting curious about yourself and being willing to explore who you really are. And then, of course, working through whatever the blocks or limiting beliefs are that are telling you like, oh, you can't do that. Because like a lot of times it's like you actually know what you want to do, but you have all these beliefs that are telling you like, oh, I can't do that. That's not going to make me enough money. I'm not going to get enough validation from my parents. No one will ever love me if I do that. Right. So it's like, what are those blocks that are actually blocking you from seeing your truth? And so that's a lot of like the inner work that you're doing of like looking at like, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about who I need to be to get love, safety, acceptance? And then allowing yourself to like question those thoughts. Like a lot of it really comes down to like, are you willing to being really curious and open to experimenting and just like getting to know yourself? I really find the people who like do the best in terms of like their healing journey or growing and evolving are the people who are just like the most curious and enjoy doing the inner work. They're like, I love to get to know myself more. Like I don't put all this pressure on myself to make it mean anything, but it's like, I just love to get curious and try new things and like see if, you know, doing this or showing up in this way makes me feel more like myself, or if it makes me feel less like myself, and then I'll just adjust accordingly. It's like really, you have to be open to experimenting and trying different things and like then really tapping in with yourself and your body and like, how do I respond to this? And that's why healing takes so long and like growing takes so long, is because it takes a lot of experimenting and a lot of like, oh, I think this is going to work.
People expect it.
Yeah, it's never
like,
over.
all right, I'm going to go through this and be done. And I was talking about this recently. Like, it pisses me off when I see on Instagram someone be like, my other half, or the, like, you know, like, whatever, like, he completes me. It's like, no, you are a whole damn person on your own. Yeah, you're not complete, but nobody's going to complete you. You're going to complete you. When you inevitably pass away, that's when you are complete. That is when your time on earth is over. Like, it's time for the next chapter, because you've done all the things that you were meant to do and you came on this planet to do. Like, it's just, we are constantly evolving, growing, and changing, and learning and healing forever. Like, the entire time we're on this planet. Like, you can't just expect it. Like, I always would joke, like, in law school, I was like, God damn it, like, another realization, like, when am I gonna stop, like, learning things? I just want to enjoy my life. And then I realized, like, I can't keep waiting to just, like, everything for it to just work out. Like, it's never going to just work out. There's never going to be a perfect time. I just need to enjoy the ride. Like, my whole shtick is, like, I'm just figuring it out, and I'm sharing, like, facets of my life as I do. Like, I'm not, the whole thing of me figuring it out is, the point is, I'm never going to have it figured out. I'm just enjoying where I'm at, and I'm going to stop putting my pressure on myself to have it figured out. And I think that's, like, again, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, waiting for the right time. Like, there is just no right time to do something, or to tell the guy you like him, or to quit the job, or to start this. Like, you just have to go for it and, like, learn from it. Like, I'm not gonna say hope for the best, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Just you be open to the opportunities that come your way. And I think we're just not as open in society as we used to be. We're not as curious. Like, I love that word. That's one of my favorite, like, qualities about myself, is that I love to learn, and I love to connect with people, and I'm very curious. And yeah, more people need to be curious.
And I think the problem is that our society has, like, even you go on social media, and to your point, it's like people are trying to, like, draw you in with all this instant gratification. There's just so much instant gratification, and all of us think, like, oh, I need to know my purpose, I need to know what I'm doing, I need to have the boyfriend, I need to be married, I need to have kids, all by 25. And, like, that's the reason I feel like everyone I know, I'm 24 right now, so, like, a lot of my friends are around that age, a lot are a little bit older.
None of my close friends are there.
Yeah, but, like, but I feel like so many of them are just having, like, an existential crisis. Like, I feel like everyone's like, what am I doing? And I'm like, that's the point.
It's
like
fun.
that, like, and I don't actually think it gets that much better when you get older. Like, I think you just get used to it.
It doesn't get better. And that's the thing, like, grass is not always greener. Like, it can't be. Because then we're always searching for the next best thing. Like, we have to just learn to enjoy where we're at right now. And yeah, I'm 26 going on 27, and I have a handful of people that I know that are starting to get engaged or married in this year or next year that are my age. But for the most part, nobody that I'm super close with has gotten married yet. And I'm very grateful for that, because it takes that pressure off. But also, I'm like, if I would have married anybody that I've dated now, I would be divorced or going to get a divorce. I'm just not the same person. I think there's power in like, growing up with someone. There is. But I think there's even more power in taking the time to really figure out who you are, and then finding the person that sees you for all the work that you've done, and continue to grow together. And, like, to your, like, you and I talked about this, like, relationships. Like, I ended a relationship because I was growing in one direction, and he either was not growing anymore or was growing in the wrong direction. And I was like, I can't be with someone who's not willing to grow. Like, the work's not over. Just because, like, you thought you worked through that big aspect of your life doesn't mean that there isn't other things. And, like, if I'm supposed to be your partner to tell you that, like, help you, and you don't want the help, like, I can't do this. I can't keep doing that. And I think that's, like, we talked about this, like, entrepreneurship is the greatest self-development tool. It is. Like, you really, it brings out all of these really bad sides of you, and you have to learn to process it and grow from it and work through it. And like, I don't think I could both grow a business and grow a relationship right now. And I learned that, and that's okay. And like, you know, of course I would love to have a partner to share my life with and come home at the end of the day with and talk to and like to build a family. But right now, like, my personal growth and my business's growth are more important. But I'm still open to it. And I think that's like the thing. It's like, we just have to be open to whatever comes our way and not put so much pressure on everything happening by a certain time, because we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, everyone wants to be in a relationship because of wedding season and Instagram and TikTok, and like weddings have gone viral on TikTok. So people think like, oh, I need to get married because like maybe that'll make me go viral. And it's like, first of all, virality is overrated. And second of all, you don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. Like, you don't know if they're really happy. Also, doesn't matter. Are you happy? Are you where you want to be right now? Like, is there something that you are even wanting to do that you haven't given yourself permission to do? Go for it. Give it a shot. I think we try so hard to like focus on what everyone else around us is doing and make sure that we look as good as they do on paper or on the internet. And it's like, who cares what other people think? Like, focus on yourself.
I know. It's so hard. And I actually, like, recently, like a couple of months ago, I deleted TikTok because I find TikTok really hard because there's less control over like the type of content you're getting. Like, it just gets fed to you. And so I was just getting stuff that was like not making me feel good. And at some point I was like, this just needs to go. And it honestly has like kind of changed my life. Like, I just feel like so much more secure in myself and like a sense of peace. Just not being exposed to like what everybody else is doing and like the clothes, even just like the clothes everybody else has, how much people spend. I'm not like a big spender, and I'm not someone who like needs a ton of like material things to be happy. And it was like, you see all these people wearing cute clothes and you're like, wait, do I want that? Am I missing out on something because I don't have that piece of clothing? Like, even something as simple as that. And yeah, like, I feel like a lot of people need better boundaries with their social media. Like, the answer is not always to delete it. I don't always think that that's like the best thing. I still have like Instagram, my other stuff, but I definitely think like, yeah, like having boundaries and just realizing it's not real. And you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, you don't know if they're actually happy, especially in relationships. Like, so many times, yeah, we like especially if you're not in a relationship or you haven't been in a relationship in a while, like, you romanticize what that means and what that looks like and how it feels to be in a relationship. And it's like work. It's like another job, to your point. So job. It's like, yeah, it's another job. And it's like, there are so many positives to it. I also just got out of a relationship. So there's so many positives to it. And like, my relationship really, just like entrepreneurship, like, forced me to grow in a ton of new ways, which I was so grateful for. Yeah, like, I really feel like I needed, because before that I'd been single for 23 years. But like, yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's not always what you think it is. Like, you have to always just keep reminding yourself.
Never is what you think it is, actually.
And yeah. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse.
Like, we have to take it all with a grain of salt. But to your point, and I've been very open about this too, like, I was single for 25 years before I got into a relationship. And then now I'm single again. And like, I'm approaching singleness very differently now. But I needed to have gone through that to learn a lot of stuff about myself that I would have never learned had I not been in a relationship. And I don't regret it. It happened. It needed to happen. And I'm better for it now. And like, we talked about this last time we spoke. Like, I think, you know, people, like, they're like, oh, you've never been in a relationship. Like, that's like weird. Or like, how have you never been in a relationship? Like, for me, it was a conscious choice. Like, I wasn't ready for one. And like, I had a lot of like limiting beliefs about what a relationship was supposed to look like that I didn't want. So I actively chose not to get in one. But I needed to have gotten in one to flip that on his head. And like, now I realize, like, oh, it's okay. Like, it won't be as bad if it's the right person. And that's the whole thing. It's like, it's finding the right person for you and finding someone who wants the same things as you and building a life together. And like, yesterday, one of my best friends and I were talking about one of my other close friends. Like, I was more mad at myself that I was jealous that she had someone to spend time with, like her boyfriend who she lives with. She's like, I can't hang out with you because I want to make dinner for him. And I'm like, but you live with him. Why can't you hang out with me? And it's like, that's something about me. It has nothing to do with her. Why am I picking a fight? And I'm like telling my other friend this who doesn't know her. She's like, yeah, like, like I get it. Like, she's also single, and she's like, I know that like my other, like her friends, like where she lives, are like, this is going on in their lives, and I know like I have to be ready to handle this situation. And like that's just not something I want to deal with right now. And it's like, I don't mind having to deal with other people's like relationship problems. Like, I just want to have my own relationship problems, like not feel like I have to like feel jealous about what they have that I don't. Like, it's like this whole weird thing. It's like, we don't know what's really going on. And like, just because it's not happening in your life right now doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It's just not the right time or the right person. And I think that's what singleness is for. Like, hot girl summer, and yes, like you want to like, you know, have rosters and like have like, yeah, do it. Go ahead. Like, but use it as a self-discovery tool also. Like, dating and entrepreneurship actually have a lot of parallels, and they can really teach you a lot about yourself. And so that's how I'm approaching dating now. It's like, I used to treat dating like a networking opportunity, and I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm just like, I'm using it as like, if someone interests me enough to where I want to spend time with them, or I want to get to know them, or I want to go out with them, I will. And if not, I don't. But I'm using it to see what I can learn about myself along the way. And then hopefully one day I meet the person. But right now I'm good.
Yeah, I love that. It's so interesting because I actually feel like I had the complete opposite experience, like in terms of being single for 23 years. Like, for a lot of my life, like I was sort of alone, and like I felt like people didn't really understand me or see me. Like, I had a lot of beliefs around that. And so I really had this like deep rooted belief that like somebody could come in and sort of like save me from like feeling unworthy, feeling unlovable, feeling unseen.
But I didn't. It's funny because I had all those things too, and like words of affirmations, my love language. I always sought external validation, but I didn't want to lose my identity in a relationship, so I was like afraid of getting in one, and so I would block all those opportunities. It was like this. It's weird. There's a lot of
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot. Yeah, I actually resonate with that, because then I never got into a relationship, but then I really like this one guy in college. And I did sort of like lose myself, like trying to prove my worth to him. And then after that, I definitely had to like work through a lot of that. Like, between that guy and the relationship that I was in, like, I don't know how many years, like 4 years later, I guess, I spent like basically a year just like not even speaking to boys, just working on myself. And then I started to like date, but slowly. Like, I knew I wanted a boyfriend, but I wasn't putting a lot of pressure on it. And then this person like came into my life who I also like totally manifested.
I manifested it. But you could also manifest other things. So
yes, well, that was like another ego potentially another ego manifestation. But I really found that like that relationship for me, after putting in so much work into myself and my worth, has like, after leaving it, has made me feel so much more worthy and confident in who I am. And like almost opened me up more to like love and to letting people in, because like when you haven't been in a relationship for 23 years, like there are inevitably going to be walls up. So like I almost needed it to break it down.
You're putting, like you said, like, and me too, like hoping that Prince Charming is going to come save us. And I remember, I want to talk about ego manifestations in a second, but I vividly remember when Barbie came out, I like went home and I walked into my house. I live at home too. And I said, I'm mad at you, to my dad. And he was like, why? I was like, this is so unprompted. He had no idea what the hell was about to happen. I was like, I'm mad at you. And he's like, what did I do? And I was like, you never taught me that I could want someone. You told me I didn't need anybody, but you never taught me I could want someone. Because the monologue and like everything in Barbie, like, you know, and it's like, yeah, like, I'm grateful that they taught me that I don't need a knight in shining armor, that I am that for myself. I'm the only one who's going to come save me is me. But I like, that became my badge of honor. And like my walls were up so high that I didn't let anybody in. I didn't want someone to come and ruin all the work that I had done. So I was viewing it in a toxic, like in a bad way. And I realized after like Barbie and like I had a situationship, and like I needed to have gone through that. It's called a situationship because that's what it was, but like it was actually like I needed to have gone through it. Like, it's fine. Like, him and I are friends, like, we're good. But like, it ended when it ended, and it was the right time. But I needed to have gone through that to learn, like, I can want someone, and someone can support me and be there for me and allow me to take care of myself and support me in doing so. And then because of that relationship or situationship, I was able to enter a relationship with my now ex.
That was the same as me.
No,
that's so funny.
And like, again, that like built off of the other guy. And like, I needed to have gone through both in the same calendar year, basically, year and a half, to understand, like, I can want someone. That doesn't make me any less of a woman or a badass or an entrepreneur or any of these things. Like, that's what I thought. I thought that a man was going to take away my power. But I've never been a man hater either. So it's like, it was weird. Like, I had all these like things I had to unlearn. And Barbie was like, Barbie to me was a whole different experience than like the average person, the average girl experiencing Barbie. Like, it was like a wake up call to me. I was like, I could want someone? What? And so it's different, like how I approach dating now. So crazy. But I love that, you know, it's rare to meet someone who also was single for almost their entire lives. Because people feel rare. Like they just get into relationships and like I never did, which is weird now thinking about it. But I could have so many times, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it was like I was emotionally unavailable. Like, there were so many, to your point, like opportunities for me to be with these guys, like in high school or whatever, that had been like, oh, I like you, and then I was like, oh wait, you like me? No, I like this other guy who's completely emotionally unavailable, so that I could never actually get in a relationship.
I would purposely go for the emotionally unavailable guy.
Yeah,
because I was emotionally unavailable, and then I was like, not to say that my situationship most definitely was not emotionally available. But we both, the thing is, we were both able to do it because we were emotionally available for each other in the sense, but knowing that we were never going to be a thing for real. So it served its purpose for both of our lives, I think. And then with my ex, like, he was emotionally available until I got to a point where I hit his walls and he was not ready to bring them down. And I was like, I need to be on this growth journey, and like, I need to bulldoze. And if you're gonna stand in my way, like, I'm gonna go. So
I need to bulldoze. I think it's interesting because I think like, yeah, like not always, there's like a lot of stuff, and I do believe this, it's like you kind of have to like trust your partner's journey a lot too. But something that like that I'm really taking forward with me, like in my next relationship, is like, yes, trusting the journey, but like the biggest thing is like, do they have the same vision as you? Because if you guys are both going to the same vision, it's okay if it takes them a little bit longer. It's okay. Like, if you're growing a little bit faster, like, that's okay. But if you don't have the same vision and you're growing 10 times faster in a different direction, like, it's not going to work. And so it's like, trusting your partner that like they'll learn what they need to learn. But like the main thing I think like going forward for me is like, now that I have this sense of like, okay, I'm open to relationship and I feel worthy of love and affection, like all those things, it's like, okay, is the person that I'm with, do they have the same vision as me? Because like, as entrepreneurs and as people who like, we put a lot of our, you know, fulfillment and our purpose in our work, it's like, we need someone who can support that and be there, because we're not going to be able to like just be like, oh yeah, we're just going to follow you wherever you want to take us. Like, I think that there are some people who are like that, and that's great. And like, props to like, do whatever works for you. But like, for me, I know like I have a vision for myself. And so I need to make sure that my partner is actually aligned on that vision. Otherwise it's just not going to work, because I'm not going to be willing to.
That's exactly
like, I'll of course compromise, but like,
no, that's
like I'll compromise, but not that much.
So it's funny because that's exactly what it was in my relationship. He, at the very beginning, he was like, I love that I'm getting to meet you at the very beginning of your entrepreneurship journey. And not the very beginning, I was a year in, but like relatively early on. And like, I get to be here and like help you grow it and like watch you do so. And I was like, finally, someone who gets it. Great. Then I realized that the vision he had in his head and the vision I had in my head no longer. For a while, we were on the same path, and then we just no longer were. And again, I hit that point where I was like, we're just not on the same page. Like, you have a wall, and like, I want to go somewhere else. And it takes, again, trusting yourself, that intuition, to be honest with yourself and say like, this just doesn't feel right. But yeah, entrepreneurship, like, it takes a special kind of partner to be with an entrepreneur. Like, no matter gender, like orientation, like any of that stuff, like it's just, there's like something about being an entrepreneur that like it could attract the right people and it could attract a lot of the wrong people. And then goes to the ego manifestation thing. Like, having that vision is really important, but being really clear on like the purpose and the goals and what fulfills you and what satisfies you and what frustrates you. And that's where that self-development and like that healing comes in. Because if you are doing entrepreneurship for the money or for the ego, you're going to attract the wrong kinds of people. So it's okay to want like all these really nice things, but you also have to recognize like it's going to sometimes take a lot longer than you think, and that's okay too. And finding someone who is along for the ride, not just hoping you get to the top so that they can benefit from it too. I was talking about this with a guy friend this week. I was like, I don't think I could date another entrepreneur unless like they're more established than me, because of that aspect. And then also like financial security. I'm like, I need someone who has a 401k benefits, like, and a salary, because there's months where I just don't know where money's going to come from. And I want to talk, because I know you live at home too, and I want to touch on like going full time and how you price yourself and all of that stuff. But let's touch on really fast, like the ego manifestations. How did you kind of recognize that your manifestations were more based in ego, and what are some tools that we could work on to be more intentional about our manifestations?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like what I was talking about before, like it took a lot of times of me having ego manifestations and like sort of not failing, but like failing in that experiment to realize like, oh, like a lot of the things that I'm calling in for myself and putting all this effort and energy towards, because that's really like what manifestation is. Like, you're putting a ton of energy and effort towards something, and that's how it becomes reality. Like, it requires a lot of action and energy. And so like I was putting all this effort into things that then when they would come in, like I would be like, this was supposed to make me feel differently. Like, if you keep attracting things that you thought would make you feel more whole or more confident or more worthy or more safe, and then they come in and you're like, why do I still have this underlying feeling of unsafety? Why do I still have this underlying feeling of like I'm unlovable or I'm not enough or I'm not being prioritized? Like, if that's what keeps coming in, it's probably because it's the ego manifestation. It's probably because you're using it. Like, what's happening with the ego manifestations, you're trying to use that external thing to fill some sort of void. And like, you've touched on this so many times, but like, it has to come from within. And this was something that was so big for me, especially with money. Like, money is something I attach a lot of safety to. And so like, I would keep making more and more money, and it was literally never enough money for me. Like, I was like, I need to save more. I need to hoard more money. I need to save up more money. I need to invest more money. Like, it never made me feel safe. And so I realized like there's a disconnect there. Like, there's something within me that feels deeply unsafe, and I need to do that work within before I start chasing more money externally. And actually coming to terms with like almost the fact that like the money I have right now is enough. Asking yourself the question when you're manifesting of like, what, like almost doing that check-in of like, am I using this to fill some sort of void? Like, what am I hoping to get out of this? And then before you even try for that manifestation, trying to in-source that, and then checking, okay, if this safety, for example, was in-sourced, if I felt fully safe in this moment, by, for example, like doing a visualization or meditation around safety and like being in that energy, even if it's just for like a minute or 10 seconds, being like, okay, from this place of having in-sourced this safety, do I still want this thing? Do I still need this thing? Do I still even care about this thing? And if the answer is still yes, because it's truly coming from like your higher self, your intuition, like what you truly want for yourself, then like go for it, start manifesting, start putting all the energy and effort towards it. But if like when you feel safe, you're like, wait, I don't actually need that, then that's when you want to question like, okay, what is like the real motive behind me getting this? And is there something I actually want more deeply that if I were fully like resourced in terms of safety, love, validation, would I be going for something else? And like, what would that be?
No, it's funny because I notice I don't have the healthiest money mindset. People are like, it's so great that you're so young and you have savings and investments and stocks and you've been paying off your loans. Like, I'm set up very well. I'm not going to deny that I'm not. But I'm still choosing to live at home, so I'm giving up a lot of freedom in order to do that. It's a sacrifice, and that's my choice, and we can touch on that too. But I've had someone in the last few years, like, I kept saying, like, when I get 1 or 2 more clients, like, I can do this, and when I can do this, and then I do those things, and I'm still like, and then I realized, like, I'm currently at the point, like, from even when we spoke a week ago, 2 weeks ago to now, I'm like, oh, I'm burned out. Like, I need to take a chill pill. After today, I have a lot of calls today because after today, no more calls on my calendar for like literally a week and a half. Like, I needed to purposely like stop.
Oh my gosh,
so I could actually have thinking time and like journaling time. I've been really bad at journaling lately because I've been so on the go. I just haven't had time for myself. And the guy that I talked to on the boat on Friday this morning, he answered my voice note from yesterday, and he was like, when have you actually, like, how many hours a week do you actually get time to just like do nothing and like take time for you? And I was like, that's a joke. I don't know what that even looks like anymore. And I used to be so good at it. And it's because I seek words of affirmation and external validation too. And for me, I was seeking for someone else to come and show me that I'm worthy and that I'm good enough. And not just in a relationship. I didn't want it to come from a relationship. I was very adamant that I didn't want it to come from a relationship. I wanted them to love me for me and all the work that I had done. So it wasn't from a partner, it was from my friends and my family. And I wanted my clients and like people in my life to like want me in their life and to feel like I was good enough and helpful to them. And then I realized I'm asking for someone to come and do that for me, but I'm not doing it for myself. And it starts here. And so like that was how like the ego manifestation thing came out for me. Like, had money was an aspect for sure also, but I've noticed I've been a lot more intentional about, I still love my vision board and like I have like my like Pinterest vision board, we all do. But I got really clear on when I actually at the end of my journaling sessions every morning, what am I manifesting? What am I looking forward to? Instead of like, I want a nice house, a nice car, I want this. I was just like, how do these things make me feel? Like, instead of saying I want a loving partner, I said I want a partner who supports me and challenges me and encourages me and like is loving and respects me, because like I got like it became a lot longer of a sentence than a loving partner.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, especially for people who like want to try more of a non-ego manifestation. Like, I don't know if you know, there's like specific and then non-specific manifestations. So specific manifestations, like where you're like, okay, I want this house at this place to look exactly like this. And then there's non-specific where you just say like, I want to experience more of like this feeling. And that's like a really good way to go because it allows you to be so much more open. And I've really found that the more open I am and the less that I have something like dialed in, usually like the universe brings me something better than I was even asking for. So it's like a lot of times we're cutting ourselves off by being so specific.
That. I have heard of this before, but I hadn't thought of it that way. But that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm being more non-specific in my manifestations. Like, I stopped putting like Porsche instead of, I said dream car. I would say my dream car instead of specifically saying what it is, because right now it's a Porsche. It could change. I don't know. Like,
so true.
My ex is a huge car guy. I'm literally wearing a McLaren sweatshirt right now. Like, I got really, I mean, I've always been into Formula One, but I got way more into cars because he was super into cars. So we would talk about cars all the time. And so who knows? I actually might like something else at some point in the future. I don't know. No, I think that's such a great point. And like, yeah, I want to, like, I shared my journal prompts a couple of weeks ago, and even me, like, they've changed a lot over the years over the year that I've been journaling. But like, that's the thing, like, it's supposed to change. We're not supposed to do the same thing over and over. That's why I don't love, like, 5-minute journal is a great entry point, but I actually like having like a free journal and my own prompts. And like, sometimes I feel called to free write, other times I don't. But I actually went to a retreat last week, and she asked this question when we were journaling, and I thought it was really good. It was imagining myself in 10 years thriving both in, it was for women lawyers. So both in legal and professional life, what do I see? And instead of asking myself, what am I manifesting? I like that it was like more pinpointed, and I put like feelings and things, both. Like, I did both specific and non-specific. And I think allowing yourself to do both is more intentional. Like, it's okay to still want specific things and manifest specific things. But I think also
Totally.
manifesting the feelings and like the overarching goals as well is important.
Yeah, totally. And I think like the main thing to just check in with yourself is like, how much am I using manifestation as a form of like feeling in control versus actually using it as a way to release control? Like, part of manifestation is to allow you to let go, and like part of manifestation is letting go of the manifestation so that it can come in. So it's like when people are so hyper focused on, it's almost like a way that people almost like justify being in their control. And it's like, if that's what you're using it for, that's when you want to like start to take a step back and be like, okay, like, do I actually even have a healthy relationship with manifesting? Or like, should I maybe take a step back? Like, I know I definitely took a step back for a while from like manifesting, because I was like, I'm using this to try to control what I'm experiencing in my life. And then I think I kind of came back into it with just doing the feelings, because okay, I want to feel more of this, and I feel safe, and I feel more like I'm letting go when I'm just manifesting like the feelings. And then now that I feel like I have a healthier relationship with it, I've like brought in more of the specific things. But yeah, you definitely want to check in, like, am I using this as a way to feel more in control? And like sometimes that's okay, because sometimes it's like that is better than actually physically controlling your external environment, is being like, okay, I'm going to trust that like my manifestation will like come in. But like, I definitely think that that's a big question to like ask yourself
huge.
to see.
I have a fear of losing control, and it goes back to, we were talking about this on the boat again too. It comes from seeking that safety and security, because I felt like I didn't have it, so I felt like I was out of control. So I need to control my environment to feel that safety and security. And yeah, that's a great point. Like using manifestations to control versus trusting that the manifestation will come to you in the way that it's meant to, and just putting the feeling out there. I think that's a really like great note. When you're working on these things with your clients, like what do you offer them? Like what are your packages look like? Do you create templates of like journal prompts and like manifestation guides and like things like this for them to do these tools? Or is it just like a coaching call? Like what does that look like? How did you know, like we talked about proof of concept with your friends, but how did you know, okay, I'm going to go on my own. I'm able to do this now. I'm grateful I could live at home and I can do this. How did you know to actually like start creating a business and like pricing yourself to do this?
Yeah. So when I first even like had the idea, okay, like I'm going to be a coach, I really based it off of my experience. Like on my personal development journey, I worked with a spiritual therapist / coach. So I kind of based what I was doing off of what she did to me. Like I had done it for years to myself. And so I was like, okay, like this method really works. I'm going to do something similar. Like I obviously I do my own stuff. But that was sort of what I was basing it off of. And then it's really just, I do like one-on-one coaching calls. I find it really, in terms of like what the work that I do, which is like really doing that deep inner work. Like, yes, I think group programs are great in a lot of ways, but I do feel like there's a lot of group programs out there, and there was kind of like a lack of people offering affordable one-on-one stuff, because like, I mean, that really for me was what made such a big impact. And I know like there's therapists out there that kind of provide a similar service, but I felt like I knew myself, and I knew of a couple people who had worked with therapists, and like it just wasn't necessarily doing what they needed, and they wanted to be a little bit more like forward looking as opposed to just like super going through the past. And so I felt like I wanted to offer the one-on-one coaching. I normally do like packages, so I'll do like a monthly package, but I try to keep it so that like it's not, there's a lot of, I feel like if you like hire a business coach or something, like they'll tell you like, oh, make sure it's like you're only offering 6-month packages so that you're making a ton of money right off the bat, and like all this stuff. And I just feel like, especially in like the space that I'm in, that's like very much so based in like people who are into spirituality and stuff, like a lot of those people are a little bit more like go with the flow and want to just be able to like book an appointment when like something comes up or they need some clarity or something like that. So I felt like just selling packages was better than being like, you have to be in this program from this number of months. And that's where I feel like I am right now. I hired a business coach right when I started work right when I left corporate America and like started working full time as an entrepreneur. And she was really helpful to like get me started and like give me ideas. And then I'm in like a coaching certification program right now, which is like part learning her method, which is super similar to my method, which is why I am doing it. But you get at the end, you can get ICF accredited so that I can work with like businesses and stuff as well, which I may or may not decide to look into after. Yeah, like exactly. It's such a good option. So I wanted to have that. And there is like a business section to it. So I'm curious to see, like, I'm not in that section yet, but I'm curious to see what that has to offer. And if I'll change some stuff based on that. But yeah, like I really feel like, especially if you're starting off as an entrepreneur, like giving people the lowest point of like entry almost to work with you. And if you really believe that your product or service is like good, like after they work with you a couple of times, like they will most likely want to work with you again. And I think that when there's like this huge barrier to entry financially, a lot of times you're weeding out people that could be really good clients. And I do think that like then as you grow your business and have a lot of clients, that's where that becomes helpful, because you actually do want to weed out people that like aren't super committed or who aren't going to, be willing to pay that much upfront. But I think if you're starting your business, like I really think like having that lower point of entry and allowing people to sort of like come and go and like test out your offering and all of that stuff is definitely the way to go, I found, for me, just like within my space.
Learning that for sure. Like starting, like a lot of coaches will be like, make it high ticket offer so you have financial security. And it's like, that's great, but they're not going to come back. And oftentimes they're going to do the consultation, they're going to leave. So if you offer low ticket, they start there. And then you also are like, you add on like, oh, I also do this, this, and this. You're more likely to have them keep coming back. So I think totally. I like that. And I like that you brought up like both having a spiritual therapist and a coach of your own. I think it's also important for people who are client facing, whether you're in like a more professional setting like law or finance or accounting or whatever, or something like this, like having your own person, your own resources that you go to when you have questions, because it can be really hard sometimes to turn it off. It's like, okay, like now, like instead of being like the coach mindset client, like I have to like now do that for myself. And like, it can be really hard. So yeah, what are some of the best lessons you've learned for your own self from your spiritual therapist and your business coach that you use in your business now as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, so my spiritual therapist, I feel like she was really at the beginning of my journey. So she, for me, like, I mean, I just would not be the person I am today without her. She used her intuition in sessions, which to me is what really inspired me to connect with my intuition. And like, I use it in my coaching practice as well. And so that's like the biggest thing I think now that I really like look back on and am so grateful for is like her showing me that I like really inspired me to connect to my intuition, because it's been such a leader in my life. Like I just like would not, I don't know if I'd be able to be an entrepreneur if I didn't have like the type of intuition that I have. And then my business coach, so she did a lot of social media stuff. She was great for like where I was at. She definitely had like a lot of good points of like, yeah, like you're gonna fail. You have to just get stuff out there. You have to be willing to put stuff out there. I'm trying to think. This was like so long ago. This was like a year ago now. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I really feel like at this point in my business, and I bet this will change like as I grow more, but I just don't feel like I'm at that point yet. I really feel like the type of support that I need is more like personal development type work. Like I feel like the business coaching is great for like starting off, because you want some sort of structure of like, okay, how do I even create a package? How do I create an offer? All this stuff. Like she taught me how to create a good offer. She taught me, yeah, like how to market myself, how to create like a succinct, like, what am I offering? Who am I? All those things. And that was really helpful at the time. But I feel like once you do like one of those programs, for me personally, a lot of the work comes to like how, like, what are your beliefs around how successful you can be? What are your beliefs around how much money you can make? Yeah. What are your beliefs around? And so like all of that type of stuff. And so like, I really feel like in where I am right now in my business, like I more so am looking for support, just like I know what I need to do. It's just like I need someone to like continue to tell me and help me work through the beliefs to be like, no, you can get there. Like you're doing great. It's all working out, all of those things. Because like there are so many times when as an entrepreneur, you're like, is this gonna work out? Or like, am I gonna go back to corporate? I don't know. Like, so I do feel like for me personally, where I am in my business, like a lot of the personal development stuff is a lot more helpful. And I feel like a lot of the other entrepreneurs I've been talking to actually feel very similarly, where like they really feel like that's the type of support system that actually helps them show up in their business in the way that they need. I'm curious like how you feel about that.
No, I agree with you. I have a couple of friends who have done a coaching program for entrepreneurial lawyers, and I know the girl who runs it. She's one of my good friends too, and I'm still not ready financially to invest in her. So that's why I haven't really done it. But also I'm just like, I feel like right now I'm still where I need that more personal development than the business. Like, because I have used social media to build my business, I don't need to really worry about structuring packages and offers and stuff yet. Like, I'm not at that point. Like, it's very personalized service. Like, book a call with me. I will build the package around you. I'm not trying to shove a package down anyone's throat or only book certain packages. That works for some people. That's not how it's been working for me up until now. At some point, I do need to create those things in order to grow and scale. But I also know that I don't want to scale too much. So like I'm kind of in that between where like it's working for me right now because I'm able to invest more time in my personal development, which is where I need to focus more on. But I think in like a year or two, I do see that switching a little more. But again, right now, like I needed to go through a lot more of the personal development stuff. And I think once that aspect of my life, like I'm a lot more stable in my personal life. And like once I'm living alone, or like living alone, meaning like not living with my parents. I don't know if I'll actually live alone. That kind of thing. Like when I'm able to invest more time into the business on the back end, I will do so. But right now I can't do my own personal healing and a business coach and still run a business. Like I just don't have the time for both. And so I needed to choose one or the other. And I chose myself right now. So yeah, we'll see. She's working on like a middle offer. So maybe I'll do her middle offer. Like we've talked about it. I'm not opposed to doing it, but like I can't do like a 6-month package or like a year-long package right now. And that's like a lot of these business coaches, that's what they are. And it's just like I can't promise I'm going to show up every week ready to talk about my business because like there's days where I'm not focused on my business because my personal life is more important right now because I'm 26 and I'm figuring it out. Like, I'm just like, I need the space to do that too. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's like to your point, and I think it's so good that you have so much self-awareness around it. Like, I am not saying that like all of those things, like all those services that people have to offer are like so helpful if you get them at the right point in time. And I think a lot of people are like almost trying to invest in this coach or invest in this program
They just do what someone tells them to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like they think it's going to solve their problem. And it's like the same thing about the manifestation thing too. It's like if you like it's not going to solve your problem. It's going to give you tools to be able to access whatever it is you're trying to create for yourself. But like when I first invested in my business coach, like I really did, and I got so much out of her. Like I'm so grateful for her, but like I really did think it was like she was kind of going to help me build my business. And it's like, no, like you still do the whole thing. It's just like you get structure and you get like a method that's proven to work, and you get like maybe they give you like specific like resources or whatever it is. And it's like very, you just have to know when's the right time to invest because you want to be able to like take full advantage of it. So I think it's really good that you're like, wait, I'm not actually at the point yet where I have this solid foundation like in myself yet, because you should be the foundation for everything to actually invest in that. Cause like you want to be able to take full advantage of it, especially when you're paying all of that money.
And I think too, what it is I did do a trademark course. So I got the structure of her business and her templates and things. So like I had some level of structure going in. It's not like I went in like completely blind. I have a lot of mentors and they've been really instrumental in giving me their workflows and stuff. So I've used multiple people's businesses to create my own. I don't want to buy someone's. And that's another reason why I'm trying to find a coach who's not going to give me their system and be like, implement this, and I'm going to help you do. So it's like, I want that more personalized aspect of it. And until I find the right coach, and like, I have her in mind, I'm just not ready for that yet. Because also like what she is scaling and what she is teaching other people to scale is still more than what I want. So it's like, I'm curious what that middle offer is going to look like. I just haven't been in the position where I'm either ready to invest in it financially or that is what I'm seeking right now. I'm kind of seeing what I can create on my own. And then if I still feel like I need something else, then I'll go and do that. But yeah, right now personal development is my focal point. Which is funny because that's the name of my dance studio. But when I was but that's just kind of like where I'm at. And I wanted to ask you too, like,
same.
You know, being so self-aware at such a young age, like it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But how do you
totally
kind of separate yourself from the coaching that you are giving your clients? Like, yes, you have your people, you have your spiritual therapist, you have your friends, you have your family, but what are some tools that are non-negotiables in your life that you have to do to be able to show up for your clients, like that you do to show up for yourself first?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. For me, like going back to like really the foundation for my whole personal development journey was my health journey. And I really like my body for me is something that I really have to take care of to show up in the way that I want. And as I like am an entrepreneur and like am on this journey, I realize more and more how important the body is for me. And so like eating the right foods is so important. Like I work out like around 5 times a week. And just like I can tell in the days I don't work out, it's not like my body, it's like my mind. I operate differently. Getting outside, moving my body. I do a lot of like somatic work, breath work. Right now I go through phases just based on like what I'm feeling. Right now I'm doing like I do like a 10-15 minute meditation every morning, and then I'm journaling like whatever I download. So that's what I've sort of how I've been like starting my day. It really is just like for me tending to my physical body. I'm someone, if you like haven't guessed from just like all of my health stuff, like I'm super sensitive. And so I feel everything really deeply. And like I actually once got this download that like my sensitivity is sort of what like forces me to like cleanse myself. So it's like if I'm feeling like a certain way, it's because like I'm holding on to something, whether it's an emotion or like a food. Yeah, or like something it's like you need to cleanse yourself. So I feel like it's like I constantly need to be doing stuff that's like almost like detoxing me, whether it's like sweating or getting outside or eating like unprocessed foods. Like I need to almost just be as like clear of like an energetic person, vessel, like whatever it is, to show up in my coaching. And then like before a session, I always do an energy cleansing. I try to like shower every night and like visualize myself just like cleansing myself of the energy. I try to just like I really try to stay just like as light and like as clear of a person as possible. Yeah, like so a big part of it too is like me always doing the inner work. Like I always have to be making sure like I'm not letting my own stuff come up in my client sessions or anything like that. And like something I've been working on right now is because you kind of touched on this before, but was definitely feeling like there's like I'm putting this pressure on myself to like fix my clients. Like there's that like I'm just like such a fixer. I want everyone to be healed and helped and the best version of themselves, and like really detaching myself actually from the outcome and being like, listen, I'm going to give you all I have to give you, and like if you can't do it for yourself, like that's not for me to step in, and actually it's a disservice to you, because as we talked about before, like you are supposed to be your own guru. Like I'm helping you to get there. I'm helping you to realize and access your own inner wisdom, but like if that can't get you to where you need to be, like I'm not going to be the person that you become like reliant on to make you feel whatever way. Because I actually noticed like almost energetically too, like that's been one of the things that like blocks me from getting more clients, is because of the pressure I put on myself to fix them. It's like that responsibility to me feels so big and so heavy that I'm like, I don't even want more clients. Like the number I have is enough. Like if I have to fix all these people, like that's way too many people, you know? So it's like for me to actually get more clients, I feel like that's like a big thing I've been actually working on, is like releasing this responsibility to fix people.
Not taking things so personally. That's always been something that people have told me growing up. And I'll close out with this. My therapist 2 weeks ago, she was like, because my human design is manifesting generator, and for me,
I was saying,
I figured for me, I like how I know things are going right for me is satisfaction. How I know things are going wrong is frustration. And she's like, what frustrates you? And I was like, everything I was saying was like other people's shit. So she was like, close your eyes, pause. And it's EMDR therapy. So I had like the little like buzzing things in my hand. And she's like, close your eyes, go to your safe space. Like pretend you're like, if you're at the beach or at the mountains, like wherever you are, close your eyes. And she goes, what frustrates you? And it took me a while, but I was like, all of my frustrations are everyone else's problems. Like I'm actually putting on other people's frustrations in my life, feeling I have to fix theirs in order to feel like good in my own. And she goes, bingo. And I was like, and I do that in my clients. Like I get so upset when they don't take my advice, or I give them an amazing consultation and they don't book with me. And it's like, it's not about me. It's whatever's going on in their life. That's okay. Like don't take things so personally. And like for you, especially when it's very much even more so an energetic transfer, like you have to just not take things so personally. And like it's kind of where I'm at. I'm taking a step back so I can cleanse myself of all of everybody else's energy and actually get tuned with myself so I can see like where I'm actually at and like rework my routines and my tools to see like how I can best optimize myself and my health. Like that's where I'm at right now. So this is, I love that. Like, it's funny, like this conversation when we talked a couple weeks ago was like so timely. I was like, I cannot wait to record because like the things that you talk about and you help your clients with, like I'm on that journey too. I'm just not in a position where I can invest in that right this second because I'm investing in my business and in my health, like physically, like actually going to the doctor and like doing all these things. And like, but I'm one step closer to like actually like, in addition to having a therapist, having some sort of coach. I just like more of a personal development coach than a business coach, I think, for now. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been incredible. Where can everybody find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You can find me on Instagram at transform with an E at the end _ coaching, and also www.transform-coaching.com. That's sort of where you'll find the most of me. I also actually did just start my own podcast as well. If you have any interest, it's called Golden Glow Podcast. At Golden Glow Podcast. So you can find me there and hear more things like spirituality, inner work, all of that good stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kayla. This is so much fun. I feel like we're so similar and this was like such a perfectly timed conversation.
Yeah, I can't wait for everyone to listen and I will talk to you guys all next week.